How's everyone doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope things are going all right. Yeah, it's a late feed. It's a very late feed. You may guess that it's a late feed when you saw it. Once in a while, I mean, I get recommended about 1,000 videos, feels like. And my videos that I get recommended come in like 3 flavors. Sort of hot button of the moment. I have one that has been asked, like people have asked a lot. We may do it later. I don't know if I'm going to be up for it after this other one. But Marx warned us against Clavicular, which is like, I don't really want to even watch this, but people want that conversation. They do. They want that moment. I don't. The other one is really long theory streams where it's like a 4-hour discussion of 3 guys and rarely a woman. Sorry, it's just the reality of that. And they just want me to respond. And then there's this stuff. Tucker Carlson, a little bit ago, put out a video called, and it's only a couple months old, here's proof the Great Replacement is no longer a theory. And it's not long. It's only 12 minutes. And it has gotten a decent number of views, but the bigger thing is clips of this have been passed around. It's been made part of his show. It's been pushed at a significant level. And I watched 30 seconds, maybe a minute. I'll tell you when I watched it till. And it is, and I went, oh, this is too perfect, because Tucker Carlson is a special breed of moron. He doesn't actually have any ideological position. If you haven't followed Tucker's career, you may not know, but he literally is whatever he needs to be at any given fucking time. He doesn't care at all. He's just a rich guy who likes being a rich guy. He's an heir to a fucking multi-$100 million fortune. But his thing is about attaching to whatever's happening. I first learned about him and got to know him when he was part of Crossfire, which was a CNN show. A lot of people first saw Tucker when Jon Stewart was on there and embarrassed him so bad that it kind of destroyed his career for like 5 or 6 years or even longer. But then he changed. As Jon Stewart said, he was a grown man who wears a bow tie after all. He changed, became a little bit more right-wing, and slow mode is active. The fuck? Really? Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Did I do that? I don't think I did that. Did I do that? Well, that's annoying. One moment. How the fuck did that even happen? Is there a slow mode? There's a slow mode. That's fascinating. Oh, good Lord. No, that's terrible. I'm going to get rid of slow mode. That must have been a misclick. Chat the fuck away, you beautiful fucking chatters. I'd hate to restrain the brilliance we get from Pashy. This video is part and parcel of what I mean when I say that he's empty. If you don't believe in a thing, you can only gesture at why people believe in it. And you can only be it cynically. Great Replacement, the reason people, like the emotional investment people have in this idea of being replaced, is that their lives are kind of shit. People's lives have gotten pretty shitty. If you didn't know, over the last 50 years, the world has not been great for the middle class in America, lower middle class, whatever you want to call it, or even the working class in America. Whatever it is, the really rich have done fucking gangbusters. Killer. Everyone else, a little bit, we'll just say less so, which I think is fair to, like, as a basic statement, I just think it's fair to say they're doing less so. The investment is in that sadness. The moment you start explaining it to prove it right, you state things that can be literally shown to be stupid and wrong. You need to gesture. If you're going to be a fascist, you have to gesture at things that are emotionally there. That's what you've got to care about. You have to push for things where you're like, hey, don't you notice it's kind of weird How many black guys do you see around? How many Mexicans these days? Aren't there more people who are minorities in positions of power? That none of these things say specifics, but he gets specifics. So I want to spend time, and we're going to actually go through it. The idea here is by the end of this video, anytime someone mentions great replacement, I'm going to recut this and put this back up, or if it turns out to be just a good one-shot take, it'll be a one-shot take. But the video will be titled, Send This to People Who Tell You That the Great Replacement is Real. Because we're going to go through every single point he makes. We're going to talk about it quite seriously. Because it is an important discussion to have. Because it is not true at all. There's no part of it that's true. Just to state up front, the idea that there is in any way truth to the idea that there are people doing this, which is not true. There is a replacement of people or fewer white people, or that white people are being replaced, is inaccurate in every version of the statement. And to talk about it from the 1950s to today, this image, I think, tells the entire story. Right? So let's enjoy. Let's see if we can get some chuds in here. Let's see if we can get some arguments going, because this is going to be really bad.
Let's talk about what exactly is going on in the United States and why it's led to the battles in, say, Minneapolis. What's happening in the United States is a wholesale change of who lives here.
Goddamn. So good, the language. This is what you're supposed to say. This is the good stuff. When I say good stuff, I mean, like, this is good fascist rhetoric. This is identical to the rhetoric Hitler used, by the way. It's good. Mussolini, too. All the fascists love this shit. Stalin, the blood and soil shit. Who lives here? The wholesale change. Ooh, that's very good language. It's incredibly incorrect. But it's an editorial framework that opens up. And it's really good language as a thing. Now, again, it's not true at all. That's just not how it works. The non-Hispanic whites are still a plurality and a majority. So the share of total has changed? Yes, but replacement? Maybe not.
Total demographic change. Now, some have called this replacement. And the question is it really replacement?
When you see this opening, you're going to really love it. This is a strong start. And then he does the stupidest thing for a rhetorical device. I love it. If I assume at this point that Tim Heidecker is utilizing these structures of what Tucker and others have done to make the new InfoWars.
So we thought we would look it up.
Where would you look up such a thing? Would you look it up in books about such a thing? Would you look it up in papers written about such a thing? Would you look up on Wikipedia? No.
Someone following along at home trying to figure out, what is everyone so mad about? What is this great replacement theory? You might go, as almost everybody does, first to Google and just type in great replacement theory, and AI would come up with the following result. This
video is going to be so much fun. This video is going to be this much fun, by the way.
Is hot off Google AI. Here's what it says if you look up great replacement theory on Google.
I love you, Tucker. Never change.
Quoting. The great replacement theory is a debunked, meaning untrue, far right, meaning Nazi, white nationalist, meaning racist, conspiracy, claiming that white populations, particularly in Europe and the U.S., are being deliberately replaced.
Yeah, he printed it on paper because it makes it seem smarter, by the way. It makes him seem like a reporter. Here, let me show you. Look, I looked up thing X and A, then B, then C, then D. It's okay. I'm talking to you, though. It's clear that I'm not memorized. It's a disconnection. But if I go, 1 second. So A, then B, and then C. I mean, it's on the paper. The fuck are you going to do about that? It's on the paper.
By non-white immigrants and minorities, often orchestrated by replacist elites, leading to demographic shifts and cultural erosion, fueling extremist violence and anti-immigrant sentiment. That's one sentence, by the way, a run-on sentence, but...
You asked a large language model, and it gave you a sentence response because it's a large language model. Like, genuinely, the absurdity is beautiful. He is this dumb. He is actually this dumb.
It is AI. And it's quite a sentence. And it tells you point blank, this is not true.
Correct.
Anyone who believes in it is deranged and
That's not what it
is
said.
stoking violence simply by believing in it. And it goes on to
It didn't say
explain
any of
how
those
this
things.
works.
This is
The
amazing.
theory, quote, posits that mass...
See, he doesn't. It didn't say any of those things. It didn't say any of those things. Just how do you misquote the quote you're reading? It's just great. It's AI. He sucks, man. It's so good.
Migration, declining white birth rates, and political agendas by elites are intentionally replacing white populations. It has inspired numerous acts of mass murder.
It has, actually. Literally some of the largest mass murders in American history, where the guy doing it says it's because of the Great Replacement Theory in his notes. It's really hard not to say that, hey, it's a little tied to it.
With perpetrators often citing this theory. Research shows that endorsers of the Great Replacement Theory often hold antisocial traits, authoritarian views, and negative attitudes toward minorities and immigrants.
That's a real paper, by the way. Well, we went over it on stream a little bit ago. Well, one of the papers. But generally speaking, the way conspiracy belief works is with an adoration or an adulation of a particular brand of authoritarianism. To say that, one, it's AI, so there's no emotion behind it. So we can dismiss it as AI, which he does already. But then he's able to also dismiss it as emotional despite not having emotion. It's citing AI to shit on it for being AI. It's incredible. Like it's actually amazing.
In other words, once again, believing that the population of this or any other country is being manipulated by people in power.
See, that's so good. It's so good. It's a very well done thing here. So, Great Replacement Theory is the idea that, generally speaking, the Jews are getting white people replaced by blacks in order to make the country worse for reasons. Money, power, Jews. That's it. That's actually Great Replacement Theory. And he takes that and he goes, well, wait, so what? People in power don't manipulate immigration systems? Like, absolutely they do. Oh, so he's done the insane idea, and he's taken the thing that literally anyone can see. Because they do. Rich people fuck with immigration all the time. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful move that's rhetorical fundamentally, but it's a very good rhetorical move. But it's not the Great Replacement Theory. The idea that wealthy people and people in positions of power in any country tend to have a more significant say in what immigration policy is at any given time is called politics. It's called politics. That's just politics everywhere. Now, to get to Great Replacement, you have to prove to me, one, first, that people are being replaced. Replaced is a very particular word, by the way. It's not just that there's a small change in demographics. It's that there's active replacement. Two, you have to just show me that the rich people and the people in power are actively attempting to do this. Not that they're welcoming in more people who are immigrants. By the way, they're not. They haven't been for some time. Like the immigration rhetoric is so fucking out of whack. It's unbelievable. But that thing, that's not how that works. But they're doing it for reasons. And the Great Replacement Theory is towards the Great Replacement. That's the idea. You have to prove any of those things. But it's not going to work because none of that's true. So you have to do these tricks. It's a good trick. I think it's a good trick, by the way. I really do.
And the people who are born here are being replaced by people who weren't. Believing that is not only wrong, it's misinformation. It's been debunked.
It has.
It's also dangerous.
There are literally hundreds of papers and data sets and videos and explanations. It has absolutely been debunked in every single way. It is misinformation, and it is dangerous because it gets people to do really violent shit.
You can kill people by believing that.
Correct.
Well, how does that work exactly? It doesn't sound like a cool, objective analysis of the theory of replacement. It sounds instead like
of a theory of replacement, which is not what the great replacement theory is. I love it. The usage is so amazing. Like this is the reason this is great, is it's a masterclass in not only rhetoric, but he does all the tricks badly. It's awesome. We'll get to the stats in about a minute. It's great.
Well, a political screed, but maybe even more than that, it sounds like an article of religious faith. You're not allowed to believe this. Only bad people believe it. It's apostasy.
It would be like, for example, believing that the Jews need to have a final solution, for example, or black people are a dumber on average because of their genetics. These are things that are fundamentally wrong in every version of everything that exists, and saying them is misinformation that causes hate. So yes, it's the same thing. It's the identical same thing.
It could lead to death believing that.
Yep.
And that seemed a little emotional for us.
See, now it's emotional for being AI. Before it was not emotional enough. It's great. He's wonderful.
So we decided instead to consult the science because
he doesn't, by the way.
Obviously, we believe the science. And the science, as always, begins with numbers, things that are quantifiable, that are measurable. And one of the ways we know the truth about who lives here is through the census, taken every 10 years. It's in the Constitution. And that provides us not precise numbers, but a pretty accurate general picture most of the time, and certainly over time, of who lives here. So let's start, because it's an easy and obvious place to start, the beginning of the post-war era. Peak America, 1950, the first post-war census. And I think everyone would agree, whether they're right or wrong, that this is a period remembered as the best time in America,
I can name a huge number of people who would probably say maybe not the best time in America. 1950, Jim Crow still in place, actively in place, by the way. Brown v. Board of Education hadn't happened yet. The famous murder of Emmett Till would be half a decade later. The Korean War was actively killing tens of thousands of Americans. McCarthy was gaining his popularity and running, the Red Scare. The Lavender Scare was underway, and the purging of possibly homosexual federal employees was going. Polio was paralyzing children at its total top peak rates. I'm just going through a list of things I grabbed of like things that suck. The people who remember that the 1950s were great are white men born between 1930 and 1940. Outside of the South, by the way. In the South, white guys had a bad time. Also, like, it's a land of poverty. Wasn't great. So no, 1950s for almost nobody was good. And it wasn't actually insomnia. It wasn't great for Christian white men. It was by being a Christian white man, you had the best opportunity for it to be great. However, not really. Not yet.
1950. The United States is an industrial power. It's the leader of the West, if not really the world. And America domestically is pretty harmonious, thriving.
Can you imagine? It's pretty harmonious with Jim Crow in place. Why am I covering this boob with Jordan? I don't do Jordan Peterson because I think he's dead. I think he's dead. So that makes me sad. That makes me sad. And I already did his Nietzsche class where I think he did Beyond Good and Evil in it. And I think the video they released is just his class from years ago. It's incoherent. It's not even like a thing you can respond to. He just like says stuff and then rambles like a lunatic. This is at least interesting from a distance from reality direction. Do we know for certain he's dead? No, but but I'm pretty sure I already responded to it too Sunday, so get with it. Where was I? Oh, harmonious. Do you know in the 50s, there was a thing called Operation Wetback? It's actually what it was called. I know it's a racist term, incredibly insensitive, but that's actually what we called it as Americans. And it was exactly what it sounds like, by the way. We had taken all of the possessions and business and money from Japanese Americans and subordinated them entirely. It's just an insane statement. But again, it doesn't matter because he's just an idiot. Here we go.
Happy? Let's take a look at who lived in America in 1950.
Oh, no. Come on.
50. And let's do that by taking a closer look at the population of the top 6 cities, which at the time were, and this tells you a lot right here, New York was number 1, Chicago was number 2, Philadelphia was number 3, Los Angeles number 4, Detroit number 5, Baltimore number 6.
All right, let's start with what I already know what he's going to say, because this is the talking point that everyone uses. In the 1950s, Los Angeles, of all places, Los Angeles was like 95% white. Can you believe that? Does anyone know why that statement is true and false at the same time?
Kind of hard to imagine, but in 1950, not that long ago, within living memory, those were the numbers. So here's what they were. The biggest city in the United States then and now is New York City. New York City in 1950 was 90% white. 71 million New Yorkers out of...
It's true, actually. Just so you know, that's actually true. Did you know that's true? That's true.
7.9 million were white. Chicago in 1950 was 86% white.
Also
Philadelphia, over 80%.
Yep.
Los Angeles, 94% white. 94% white. That's almost an ethno state, actually, at that point.
It would be. They're all white. It's 94% white in Los Angeles.
Detroit, Michigan, home of Ford, GM, and Chrysler, 84% white.
Also true. By the way, also true. All of this, by the way, is accurate. The census, as taken in 1950, 94% white. Now, do you know what happens over time? We do what's called specify. So when people exist in a city and we're like, hey, check this. My guess would be what was considered LA. Nope. Your guess should be what's white. Because in the 1950 census, there was no category for Mexican American or Hispanic. They were white. Correct, Grizzle. Grizzle does know best. Hispanics in LA were counted as white. There was no checkbox except for them to say white. There was no thing. That's why on the thing it says non-white Hispanic versus white, right? Like there's a reason that it says that on this. If you haven't seen the words, there's a reason they have these words. They were censused as white, but they lived under really restrictive covenants because the actual experience was not the federal census. Their actual experience was they're fucking Mexican Americans. They had segregated fucking schools. There were prohibitions against Spanish languages, but on that census, they were goddamn white. they were white. That's it. That's the end of it, by the way. That's the end of that. That's the end of the discussion there. All that he's going to do here when he talks about this is show that he doesn't understand that in 1950, there was no checkbox for Mexican or Hispanic. There is now. And then he's going to be like, can you believe, look, because he's not going to go, well, look, there were, zero? There were no Mexicans in LA. How'd that happen? Fucking weird. There were no Mexicans in any of these cities because there weren't. That isn't a thing. It's a fundamental thing to understand about all of these, by the way. What was the box for Native Americans? You think they did a census for them? They probably were white, actually. Thinking about it, they probably were white. The census back then had very few choices. That's not a thing that they had because race wasn't sort of their thing. It was mostly used for tracing generally people, and primarily they were really using it to tell where black people were moving as a thing. Arab Americans were white. North Africa, white. Middle East, white. They're all white. These are all white people.
Baltimore, steel and shipping capital of the Mid-Atlantic, 76% white.
So you can imagine how many of those were Mexican. A lot in the 50s. A lot, by the way. New York, too. Now, LA, obviously a decent, probably, then he goes 94% were white. So 6% were black and Hispanic and Arabic? Man. Jesus fucking Christ, how stupid are you? It's just the stupidest fucking person alive. Fucking unbelievable. Fuck.
That was 1950. You know people who were alive in 1950. Maybe you were. Here are the numbers today. Baltimore, 27% white. Detroit, about 10% white, down from 84. Los Angeles, again, 94%, about 37% white now.
It's
Philadelphia, 36%. Chicago, less than 30%. And New York City, again, the biggest city in the country, is now around 30% white.
Yes, Invox. There were basically black and white. I think there was, I want to say there was Asian Americans were another, but again, it depended. I think Asian Americans were another, but I don't think, again, census in 1950 was a very strange thing, and some people were citizen. It's actually really interesting. There's a great book called How Race Was Made in America. How Race Was Made in America? Yeah. I have it somewhere behind me. And it goes through literally how over time, as they've changed the definitions of things, and they've been like, oh, we want to enable people to sign this. It'd be like, hey, in 1950 on the census, there were no homos or trans people either. They didn't even exist. It's the same kind of mentality. It's like, well, now we let people do that. And actually we even encourage it. Luckily, people can not feel like they'll be, murdered in the street or lynched if they check a box in the wrong way. And we have a box for them to check, which we didn't before. So you're comparing fundamentally apples and I guess the field of apples. And we used to have only apples at the store. Now I go in and there's green apples and red apples. I tried to order just apples and I couldn't do it on the confounded app. And there's these cosmic crisp things and I don't know what those, it's that kind of old man bullshit that this is doing. That's Molina. Natalia Molina. That's the one, Insomnia. Thank you.
Down from 90% in 1950. So you think to yourself, well, maybe these cities have just shrunk, and a lot of them have.
Not a chance. There's, again, if you don't understand how fucking statistics work, you fucking moron.
Baltimore.
Do you know how stupid you have to be? Los Angeles was 96% white. Are you fucking out of your mind? Los Angeles was never primarily white. Ever. It was never, It's so fucking embarrassing.
Or Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago, all much smaller than they were.
Oh, and by the way, imagine you were, and this was the thing, part racial. So if you were a child of a slave coupling, which was really common actually, you were generally considered directly black. Now, if you could pass, what would you put? I wouldn't put black. Not in 1950. I would be like, I like mayonnaise. I'll take all the mayonnaise.
What's interesting is that New York is bigger
Where's the
than it
Starbucks?
was. About 1 million people more live in New York than they did in 1950. And yet the proportion of whites has declined.
Not really, by the way.
Well, from 90% to 30%, but so is the absolute number. New York has lost about 4 million white people, even as it gained 1 million people in population. What is that? Now, in some of these cities, there are economic reasons for this, right? A lot of African Americans moved up from the South to work at the auto plants in Detroit, to work.
Okay, let's talk about how things change in 70 years, by the way, which is like, that's not one generation. He's going to talk about it like this, but you have to remember, the people who were actively working, let's say in their late 20s in 1950, like post-war people, they grew up and they were already having kids. So like they're like the top tip of the baby boomers. They would be born in like 1920, 1923. They're all dead by now. Their kids, and then their kids' kids, and then their kids' kids. It's 3 or 4 generations. And as this happens, one of the things, especially from the 1950s on, is for New York, as development happened, and we had suburbs for the first time because people could own their house because of the GI Bill, because of the way that the GI Bill and the war sort of allowed. What happened is people didn't move out of New York like everywhere. Like post-COVID, I think we could talk a very interesting sort of dispersal of people. But post-1950, they left the city where you had shitty tiny apartments for Long Island, so you could have a shitty tiny house. And that 100,000, 200,000, 600,000 people that moved out to Westchester, that moved to northern New Jersey, that moved to Connecticut, these are all people who, thanks to the FHA's redlining maps that put these things in position, that set these things up, these people aren't missing. They had more money and they moved to a place that was available for the first time, but really didn't change a lot. They still would commute into New York. A lot of people did that for a very long time, by the way, a very long time. But this suburban move is known. This isn't weird. It's the container fallacy. There's no 4 million people that are missing. They simply moved 60 miles out, and that's it. There's a history here. We know it. Do I just have Jang playing 24/7 now? If at any point you have $10, you can toss it. We'll watch and take a break from Tucker, and we'll watch a little bit of Jang. Imagine hearing this and thinking, oh no, my team's numbers. I just want to know how someone can mentally put themselves in a place where they think in the 1950s, the earliest time of California, you presume that no one lived there except for the whites and blacks who moved there. Like, California, it's...
At the harbor, at the shipyards, the steel plant in Baltimore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Same thing in Baltimore too, by the way.
But not all of it. And in New York City, almost all the demographic change is the result of immigration. And
almost none of it, by the way. Almost none of it. Like, to talk about immigration in New York City is insane. That's an insane statement and bullshit in almost every single way.
that began in 1965, which is definitely within living memory of a lot of people watching this right now. So that's another and very long way of saying.
He mentions 1965 because that's when they got rid of racial quotas and limits that had been in place since, like, I don't know, the 1920s. This is not when immigration exploded into New York. That's not how it worked. The minor compositional change was true. There's fewer generally Europeans as a thing, but to say it began in 1965 as framing is specifically fucked up and specifically broken, because the reality is that those quotas were actually a demographic engineering tool to limit those people who wanted to come in. It was very much that. And the legislative record, they openly said this kind of shit as they were getting this stuff passed about how they wanted no one to be here except for Europeans and whites and all that stuff, because they wanted to preserve the ethnic setup of post-Civil War America, pre-1900 Civil War bullshit America as a thing. So if he's saying, oh, the governments engineer it in this way, well, they engineered it the other way too. And so if that's the thing, then the Great Replacement theory is both everyone or whatever. It doesn't work. The historical example of this goes counter to whatever he's saying. It's insane. It's an insane statement. Yeah, New York City immigration did not start in 1965. He brings it up because, again, if you know white nationalists, you know that they really love talking about quotas. And the old racial quotas were eliminated in 1965, so they openly talk about this kind of thing. They love it.
The Great Replacement is not only real, it's the realest thing there is.
The realest thing there is.
And it's provably true.
What the fuck, dude? What the fuck, man? So nothing he's shown has said this. Nothing. It's an amazing piece. This is why I love this. I love when he does this. These fascist liars don't really believe their shit. And so they just say enough that they think people go, oh, that's a cool fact. It's not even a fact, though. He's just making shit up.
So why would they go out of their way to tell you it's a debunked far-right racist conspiracy theory believed in only by antisocial lunatics who commit mass murder? Well, probably because it's true.
Yes. The last refuge of the scoundrel is the first sentence that comes to mind. Hey, why are they making fun of me for telling people that the Jews all need to be killed and that the Jews are trying to, take everything over? Why are they doing that? Huh? And so I hate trans people. What are you going to, why are they stopping me from that? It's probably because I'm awesome. That's why. Yes, that's the self-serving garbage is insane. Sunday, I will never be able to forget. If you guys haven't watched it, Tucker Carlson reveals that he believes he was scratched by a demon while he slept. Now, I don't think he believes this, but he did say this, and it's awesome. Well, I'm sorry, Heather. It's really awful, and these people are terrible. And again, it's citing facts, but the underlying thing, when you say that Los Angeles was like 95% white, it's true in 1950 because the checkbox had white, black, and like Asian. And so Mexican, Hispanic, they were all just considered white at the time. That's by the way, how whiteness works as a thing. There are books on it and histories on it.
And in telling you that, whoever wrote that, you have to ask yourself who would write that and why. And it's not just, of course, an AI in Google or Wikipedia. It's
you literally read it from AI. Good job.
everywhere.
If it is, then you should be able to point at a person. You can point at me, Tucker. You can point at me. I will tell you that it is something that has been not just correlated, but shown to have causation between radicalization and violence when you bring these things up and the rabbit hole that people go down. That's how it works. That's how it works.
There's nobody who admits that that's true, even though it's provably true. It's
not
indisputably true.
That's not. None of it's true. None of it's provably true. He cited a census statement without understanding that there was no entry for Hispanic when he says that 94% of Los Angeles was white because he's an idiot. Is that going to be the only argument he makes?
In fact, there's a list on Wikipedia of all the people who believe in it, the thought criminals who believe this could possibly be true. Apparently,
I love the invoking of Orwell for this. Orwell would fucking hate him.
People who don't have access to census numbers.
Do you have access to census numbers? Because you could look. You don't. You just have access to the one stat.
Don't believe it's true, but the 19 figures in American public life who do have access to the census numbers somehow believe this is true. But they're telling you it's not. But what they're leaving out, of course, is that demographic change is a constant through history, and it is almost always mass demographic change. Nope. Turnover, replacement is almost always the result of human choice.
None of this is true. These are two straight up fucking lies. Let's go through them. These are just two lies.
But what they're leaving out, of course, is that demographic change is a constant through history, and it is almost always mass demographic change. Turnover, replacement is almost always the result of human choice.
Okay. So first off, no to the first part. Demographic change is a constant. People live and die and things change in time. Jesus fucking Christ. I hope I don't have to explain why that is unavoidable to people. It is almost never mass. The times when it is mass is genocide. Now, granted, Tucker really likes genocide, but genocide, as much as I know, they're really depressing and they're really big, they're actually not the primary mode of change in human history. They're not. Time is. People are. That's how that works. Second, the use of human choice in there. The idea that there is a person with agency making this human choice is doing so much heavy lifting that is trying to bring in that intentionality I said that he had to prove that he hasn't. He really hasn't. There's nothing there. There's nothing that he has said that has shown that in any way whatsoever. Demographic shifts at large are produced more or less by aggregate decisions within conditions that no one chose and everyone was born in. Climate has a far, far more extreme version of this than kind of anything else. Again, genocide is a thing, but you want to talk about kind of the climate problem as it's been growing. Disease, really, really huge. War would be obviously in there. Shifting economic situations. Southeast Asia has had massive change. The demographics within China have fundamentally shifted within the last 200 to 300 years because of political and economic pressures. And again, not due to people making choices. Right? That's not how it works.
Populations change because leaders decide they should change.
No. You'd have to actually show me that that's the setup and that's the thing. Not implications. Oh, Biden and Kamala opened the border. They didn't open the border. They're bringing in so many people to vote illegally. Okay, you're disconnected from like 9 layers of actually meaningful discourse on this. There is no politician who's doing this. Ronald Reagan granted amnesty to a significant number of illegals who ended up not voting for him. In fact, a lot of illegals don't, when they're granted that amnesty, I think Clinton did it, Bush did it. They end up kind of joining various groups. They're actually more conservative than anything. If you didn't know, immigration tends to be people who are impoverished, a little bit more conservative, religious. If I, part of the transing homo brigade who wants everyone to be living without a stateless state and wants everyone to be emancipated, if I wanted everyone to like be living my way, I wouldn't be bringing in all of these. If that was like the thing, these are not the people to bring in at all. I have no idea why, like, it's only the Republican psychotic nutcase fucking racism that makes them not vote for them. It's so weird. It's such a weird thing we live in. All of this is so nuts. Come on. Why aren't you playing?
Population demographics, the question of who lives within the borders of a country, is not only a concern of leaders, of governments.
Of course it is.
It is the main concern.
That's just simply not true.
It's the main thing they think about. So the rest of us imagine that
I would need any reason to believe that that's the case. I know Trump is, because he's using them as a boogeyman. Fascist governments love talking about keeping people out, but I don't know of a president. I would just end there. Yeah, I don't know of a president who actually has actively said, hey, my number one concern is bringing in more people. That's not happened in American history. Well, maybe in like the 1810s. We've got to bring in more people. Yeah, probably. Also, got to kill a bunch of people. They're balancing it, I guess.
That the government concerns itself with collecting taxes, schools, national defense, and those are all concerns, but we are thinking way too small. The people who run countries, who map out the future of civilizations, think in much larger terms than the rest of us. This is not a guess, by the way.
It's just not true.
This is true. They think in terms of who lives here, what are they like, how many of them are there? And there are plenty of levers that they can move to change those numbers. Obvious and not so obvious. War being the most obvious. Killing people, unleashing pandemics on them. Obvious. Less obvious? Encouraging different ways of living. Encouraging birth control or abortion. Scrambling the genders. Encouraging women to work outside the home.
This is the classic full, like he is bringing everything into this. This is the actual white supremacist talking point. That's the thing. And how you know is because you start with, hey, it's demographic change, which is natural. Then you add intention. Then you add poor. Then you add people who don't feel our culture. Then you add criminals. Then you add out of the home, breaking up the family, hurting Christianity, making white men's jobs tougher. It's all I could think. American Dad moment.
Brett Morris. Stan Smith. So, you like paddle boats?
Damn right. I think it's because they remind me of a simpler, better time when white males had all the power instead of just most of it.
I know. I hate how we only have most of the power.
That's all I could think when I watched Tucker, is that moment. I hate how we only have most of the power.
Has one of the largest effects on demographics, of course, because women who work during childbearing years are much less likely to have lots of children. In fact, many of them won't have any children, and that has proven true over time.
This is also not true. Like, this is actually a dangerous statement. That's actually a dangerous thing to talk about. Fuck me. Like, that's upsetting in like a few ways. When you talk about how people have kids and what the demographic changes are, it's not just white people who are having fewer kids. It's everyone in America, actually. Everyone. Everyone's below 2 kids. There's no like group that's like having 90 fucking kids except Mormons. Like, it's just not a thing that people do here anymore. In fact, generally speaking, it's kind of not a thing that's happening everywhere because people don't want to have a lot of kids. I have 2 kids. They're phenomenal. Heather's an extraordinary mom, and she loves them to death. I would not have a 3rd kid. Nope. And we did have kids later in life. So we're doing our part for Tucker. He really doesn't want us raising kids for sure. But like, this idea is completely broken when it comes to how all of this is really working at a statistical level, at a grand level, at an American level, at a human level. There's nothing here. There's nothing here.
Across the world. So why would governments do this? Well, that's kind of the more complex question. They do it. They've always done it. They would do it for a couple of reasons. One, to meet a short-term economic goal, or even a long-term economic goal. Short-term might be who's going to pick the grapes in California.
Wow. Capitalism functions by having things that need to be done. And it's almost hyper localized, and every instance of meaning or value is determined contingently by the thing that's happening. So, the futures market and the ability to sell grapes is the price that it is. People won't pay much more than that. They might. Some people will pay for a lot for very special weird grapes, like they pay for Manuka honey and all that dumb shit out of New Zealand. There are weirdos, but generally speaking, the market does set the price. And as such, you work kind of backwards. Here's what we can afford, or we can't do this because we can't be in debt every single time that we harvest grapes. Grapes, fruit, other things, hyper difficult process that requires fingers. If you haven't done it, we every year we go berry picking because we live in Washington State. There are berry farms everywhere. There's stunning blueberry farms. Like in the fall, there are strawberry farms. There's you pick it farms, everything. All that shit that you can do is awesome, but you pay like what, $2 or $3 a fucking like pound for blueberries. Sounds great. It is until you do it for about an hour and you realize this sucks. Like it really is a shitty job and it's tiring and brutal, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to. Most people don't want to. Go work a farm. Farms sucks to work on. Sucks to work on a farm. Sorry, it sucks to work on a farm. It sucks to be a worker on a farm for a lot of reasons, but like the actual labor is a nightmare. So we need it. This is why America is in power. This problem, because cotton and tobacco and all these things that didn't have sort of a fairly automated system. We needed people to pick them. Everywhere else in the world paid people. We just kidnapped them and then killed them if they didn't do it. And that turned out to be really good for the bottom line. And that built America. And then lo and behold, that didn't last when we had to ban slavery. Now we had to figure out ways around that. So what we did is we had immigration systems. Circular migration was generally the really common setup. People who lived in Mexico prior to NAFTA, there's a lot of fun discussions to have around all these trade deals. They would come work for a season and then they'd go home. And that sort of existence was fine. The money that they would make here was more than enough for them to actually have a decent time back, and they'd kind of do this back and forth. The circular migration was great for its own thing. That you broke, Tucker. The Republicans broke that, Democrats too, by kind of blocking it and making it weird and fucked up and ruining it. And a lot of people really spent a good amount of time in this circular migration pattern, and it locked people on one side who couldn't go home, it locked people on the other side who couldn't come up. It changed fundamentally how the countries dealt with each other and the people dealt with each other as a human. It's horrifying. A day on the farm is like a day in the corp. I'll sit and play Minesweeper all day before I spend a day picking fucking strawberries.
Oh, better get some Mexicans. Understandable. Most people are familiar with that. Others might be longer term adjustments to changes that no one can really control, like AI. Oh, wait a second. We're not going to need as many people here because machines are going to do a lot of the work.
What the shit? Sorry, my brain wasn't ready for that one.
Understandable. Most people are familiar with that. Others might be longer term adjustments to changes that no one can really control, like AI. Oh, wait a second. We're not going to need as many people here because machines are going to do a lot of the work.
What?
How are we going to support these people? That might be another reason. And of course, there might be darker motives or more basic motives, like the innate human desire to conquer other people, to replace your group with my group. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's the entire story of history. Mass movements of people by force has been a constant since the Babylonian captivity and probably before, unrecorded. That is the story of history. And it's all around.
It's literally not the story of history at all. And again, he's done nothing to substantiate it except not understand how censuses work, which is fucking crazy, man. God damn it.
Around us, but we don't even notice. Things around the world are moving.
That's the entire video. Isn't that fucking crazy? That the entire story of history, this claim, is the like apex predator of the bullshit he's saying. This history is not a story of replacement by force. It also is trade, for example, migration without conquest, the blurring of borders that has changed many, many countries over the course of 200, 300, 400 years. There have been huge amounts of weird stability in a lot of different places. There's a lot of climate-driven movement, by the way, for the last 50 or 60, for sure. Treating history as a single story of my group is being replaced by your group is so fucking weird to hear. But the facts he says are 100% bullshit. And I felt like it was a good piece. I felt like it was a good piece to like show it. I felt like it was a good piece to show it.
In Greece, when
Let's see what we got from Jen today.
and then he's attacked by monkeys. It doesn't matter if he screams because he's too far away. Would his comrades know that he's in danger? He hasn't called you. You don't know about this, but in your heart, would you know it? The answer is yes, you would know it. You would feel something is wrong. You would get on the phone and try to call your son. You guys will conquer the world. You will become the secret elite. The thought experiment is this. Let's just say
Fucking the shit is going on. I can't even mentally handle Jeng sometimes. Fucking I don't even know. Off topic. Do I buy sunglasses online? No. No, I would not buy sunglasses. Well, depends if you buy them from somewhere that's decently reputable and you're able to trace it. Sunglass Hut is expensive and shit, but it's at least trustable. I bought mine at Costco. These are transitions lenses, by the way. They're transitions. They turn like a dark blue. So Costco's good. Get some at Costco. Costco's solid shit. Costco's solid shit. I think Costco's solid shit. So Tucker sucks. And then we're going to do the other video that everyone is fucking won't stop. They fucking won't stop posting. It has been recommended, suggested for me, 7 times. You motherfuckers. I hate everyone. Like, this shit makes me go, I just hate everyone. I don't know if it's good or bad. I literally haven't watched it because I mostly feel really bad for Clavicular. The top comment on every post about him on Reddit, I think, is the best way to talk about him, which is, the sad thing is, I can never hate this man as much as he hates himself. And I think it's going to be this is going to be a rough video. Clavicular is what Marx warned us about from, I don't even know who this is, Harper O'Connor. I can't tell if this is my goofiest video or my magnum opus. The video is okay from a serious Marxist. Well, I am not sure. I'm sure I love you, silly kitty. I'm sure you're wonderful. I can't imagine that this is even slightly Marx. I don't like the idea. If it's goofy as fuck, that's cute. But like, we watched a video, was it 2 days ago now, of some kid talking about how Foucault's The Order of Things can be explained through Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I gave it credit, and I will continue to give it credit, by the way, because it's pretty fucking good. You should make it so people want you to react to slap, they need to donate or be a patron. When I'm large enough, I might do that. For right now, these things actually end up getting me some level of views, and they're kind of fun to do, and maybe someone learns a thing. So let me change this stupid fucking video I'm doing right now. I need suggestions for titles, so I can cut these up, because I'm cutting this whole thing up later. Is clavicular what Marx warned us about? No, probably not. What the fuck? That's gonna be my title for this right now. Harper Connor's so dumb. Oh no, I don't know who this person is. This is not gonna
For the past month, I've been tortured by a simple question. How is a guy who hits
Why do I recognize him? Why are his eyes unnaturally green?
himself in the face with a hammer, takes research chemicals and makes him infertile,
So right now, I am infertile.
and walks around on his tiptoes, suddenly the most famous man in the world? Full
I mean, we know why. Because Kick, where he started his stuff, has an entire program about spamming videos out so that way Kick can get revenue and viewers driven to his videos, which are actually part of stake.com, which is part of a larger gambling apparatus. If you didn't know, that's the reason. That's the reason, by the way. If you don't know, that's the reason why we have these really weird fucking people. If you see that they're on Kick and they're like out of nowhere, this is why. The Kick's business model is this. They pay people in very poor countries like $10, $100, $1,000 bounties on how many people can get this thing seen by more people, all that set up, so that way they can drive people to see a thing on the video or Kick, because it ultimately goes back to the gambling operation that the entire thing is a part of. Kick is a front for extensive online gambling. That's it. There's no mystery here, and you don't have to worry about a mystery. This is just capitalism in its worst form, and we happen to be living during it.
It's 2026. The practice of making oneself as mathematically attractive as possible by any means necessary, also known as looks maxing, is now mainstream. Its avatar is 20-year-old live streamer Braden Peters.
I don't think looks maxing is mainstream. The comment is a joke, like maxing is a meme that has sort of spread, but I'd be very hesitant to say this is a mainstream thing. This is a freak show. I don't know anyone who thinks of it as anything but a freak show in the normal world. I know him, I've reacted to him in the past. Sunday's reacted to him. I don't have good vibes, so we'll see.
Also known as Clavicular. In March, Clavicular sat down with Andrew Callahan for an interview. And while this conversation had many notable moments,
most people are extremely jester.
there's one exchange in particular that I can't stop thinking about.
You didn't even ask a looks maxing question, like at all.
I think we've been talking about looks maxing this whole time.
At first, this seems like a simple misunderstanding, but after hitting myself in the head with a hammer for a few hours, I've come to the conclusion that this
I have no desire to connect to the young ones, Pashy. I'm not nail maxing. I'm going to call it, you know what? I'm nail maxing and beard maxing. I'm beard maxing. And philosophy maxing and Deleuze maxing and whatever. I don't, it's a meme. No one gives a fuck. It's a stupid term. Who cares?
moment is the key to understanding Clavicular's worldview and, by extension, the logic of modern society. So today, I want to explore the politics of looks maxing. Why is it popular, and what's the alternative? Get it? It's like, hammer, and it's a scalpel.
That's not a very good joke.
I'm really proud of that one, actually. At first glance, you might think Clavicular is insane. You'd be correct. But Clavicular's insanity is not the product of one diseased mind. No, I'm afraid this insanity is...
Clavicular openly mess. Like, literally, he's just probably a mess of a person. Don't be surprised in any way. He's just a mess of a person. It's a freak show. I don't know anyone who doesn't think he's a freak show. Like I genuinely...
systemic. Personally, I find Clavicular the man much less interesting than Clavicular the idea. In other words, what does looksmaxing mean? Now, I think there's someone who can help us find the answer to this question. You could say he's the original looksmaxer, and his name is Jesus Christ. Sorry, I don't know what came over me. Now, if you'll open your copy of the Communist Manifesto to page 5, the bourgeois, wherever it has gotten the upper hand, is left...
It's a decent book, by the way. The Creative Act. It's decent. It's not very good. It's decent.
Left no remaining nexus between man and man than naked self-interest, than callous cash payment. Now, what does this mean? For most of human history, people did think...
Okay, wait. Was he actually... God damn it, I hate... This is not going to be fun. Was he actually reading there, or was that like another joke? God damn it.
Open your copy of the Communist Manifesto to page 5. The bourgeois, wherever it has gotten the upper hand, has left no remaining nexus between man and man than naked self-interest, than callous cash payment. Now, what does this mean? For most of human history, people did things because those things were useful. You pick apples and then trade those apples for a horseshoe. Maybe you use money, but only as an intermediary. In our society, though, it's flipped. Instead of trading something for money so you can buy something, you invest money to create something so you can then sell it for a profit.
No. No. It's not that the cash nexus was added to the process. It's that the only thing that ever remains is the cash or industrial currency or capital, whatever you want to say. It's not right. And why would you say this? This is just not true. That's not the line. That has nothing to do with it. Marx and Engels have very specifically, and I think it's even in that, like, that's not the phrase. It's very weird.
It's that demonic inversion that powers modern capitalism.
It's not an inversion. That's a negation. That's not what Marx is doing fundamentally in any capacity. And he goes out of his way to say this is not an inversion. He goes out of his way to say it's not an inversion.
And when the law that animates production is ROI, it's no...
So he cited a work that he really didn't understand, probably because it's a good sentence that will pop up and like push the next thing. Like he's going to be making a point that sort of does this, but this is not.
Surprised that culture too begins to orbit around this black sun.
I'm so fucking broken. I'm so broken on this. We're going back. We're gonna have this discussion because this is bad Marx, and I want to make sure I do this right. This is really bad.
If you'll open your copy of the Communist Manifesto to page 5, the bourgeois, wherever it has gotten the upper hand, has left no remaining nexus between man and man than naked self-interest, than callous cash payment. Now,
the word "than" is the thing. Than. No other nexus between man and man, then naked self-interest, then callous cash payment. Only the cash nexus shit remains. It's not at...
What does this mean? For most of human history, people did things because those things were useful. You pick apples and then trade those apples for a horseshoe. Maybe you...
Okay. When anyone is having a discussion about CMC versus MCM and they do this is very normal, and it is absolutely not what CMC MCM is about in any capacity in capital. CMC and MCM is a logical distinction of the operations internal to commodity circulation. It has nothing to do with pre-capitalist bartering. This is Adam Smith, not Marx. I actually think the apples for horseshoes things is Marx, but it's the example. I feel like I want to get capital out because I think this is interesting. Give me a second. I want to pull up capital. One sec. Because there's something in that the apples and horseshoes thing. Well, Sunday, what does an apple kicker need a horseshoe for? You saying that like is exactly what I'm talking about. I feel like there's something there. Feel like there's something there. One sec. One sec. I cannot get it out. Come on. Frustrating. I think the horseshoe thing has to do with Adam Smith specifically. Come on. I need a version. Why is my new version not showing up in my search? That's frustrating. This is frustrating. There you are. All right. Why would you open? What the fuck? No, it's not volume 1. It may not be volume 1. Fuck. I'm going to have to look this up. I feel like I'm going to end up looking this up. Chat should be a productive person, learn programming, or play Deadlock. You should. Is Brooks unlocked on the Apple Horseshoe thing? Yeah, because I feel like there's commodity examples Marx goes with, like that aren't really there, and I feel like apples and all of these things are in there. I don't know why. Because it's so okay. Here's the direction my brain is going, and I need to figure out why. Adam Smith and his claim, fundamentally, that Marx spends a lot of time dismantling is humans by nature are barters. We barter. So a guy who makes horseshoes needs apples to eat. A guy who picks apples needs horseshoes for his horse. So they would trade horseshoes and apples. I believe this is an Adam Smith thing. I specifically think this is an Adam Smith thing. I'm not positive, but I believe that's the Adam Smith thing. And in Capital Volume 1, I can't find it offhand really quick. Marx dismantles the idea of bartering because for him, we begin talking about commodities and how commodities function, and that objects aren't naturally commodities, tradable things, but instead, again, Das Kapital, the way objects work is they become commodities through the social act of exchange. The commodity form itself presupposes the social relation that generates them. And he fights against primitive barter here. And I think that's the example he uses. I feel like that's the example he uses. But this is literally, whatever he's talking about is the opposite of what Marx is talking about in Das Kapital. This is the thing Marx is shitting on very specifically. This is not Marx. This is not Marx. This is not Marx.
Use money, but only as an intermediary. In our society, though, it's flipped. Instead of trading something for money so you can buy something, you invest money to create something so you can then sell it for a profit.
You use money to invest in a thing in order to sell it to make more money. You can, again, it eliminates everything except for the money. That's correct, but
it's that demonic inversion that powers modern capitalism. And when
no, it's not a demonic inversion. Marx sets up MCM very specifically, and it is not about inversion. It is not about morality or perversion as a thing. This has to do specifically with value itself and how value works. That's really bad. That's really bad Marx shit.
the law that animates production is ROI, it's no surprise that culture too begins to orbit around this black sun. To quote the manifesto again, capitalist society...
It's a lot of moral language being smuggled in here about all of this that is absolutely the opposite of criticism or critique.
...is resolved personal worth into exchange value. What I'm trying to say is market economies create market societies. And so what does this have to do with looks-maxing? Well, what is looks-maxing if not the logic of capitalism, the logic of markets applied to the body? What distinguishes humans from animals?
Oh my God, there's so much of this that I just feel like I don't even know where to start. Like my brain is now going back to earlier things. Like
Version that powers modern capitalism. And when the law that animates production is ROI, it's no surprise that culture too begins to orbit around this black sun.
That's the moral language and analogies is doing so much heavy fucking lifting.
To quote the manifesto again, capitalist society has resolved personal worth into exchange value.
Ah, God, this itches in the wrong way. This itches in the wrong way. It is personal worth. What an interesting idea that there is a personal worth resolved into the value of exchange, something that was lost. No, I'm just going to say no. I don't feel like going into it, but that's not good.
What I'm trying to say is market economies create market societies. And so
I don't feel like that's a Marxist claim. Market economies don't make market societies. Market economies are the society. To make the step to say that market economies produce market societies feels like someone else's work. That doesn't feel like, that feels like it's a liberal stance, and that's a liberal claim. There's nothing there for me with Marx. I would need to, that's a problem. I don't have enough to say something against it, but I'm against this stance. I'm against this. This feels bad, I guess. I just don't have the words for it because that's such a market society is out of realm for what Marx talked about. He wouldn't be saying such a thing because he's here to talk about the modes of production and what capitalism is. It's a very strange claim.
what does this have to do with looks-maxing? Well, what is looks-maxing if not the logic of capitalism, the logic of markets applied to the body?
Well, that's just... Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Just to quickly say why this is stupid. It's true in the sense of everything that these people are doing because it's being prompted up by the market. Me too, in my own way, my size and everything. This is to say this is produced by the market, this is capitalism at work, is almost tautological and self-evident. So it's a stupid claim. It's a stupid claim to make fundamentally, because everything is that. There's nothing that isn't that. I would like the opposite. Like, this is the easy way to sort of, when you're watching something, take a moment and go, what would the opposite of that be? What would, for example, something that's really powerful that's not driven by the market be? You're free to let me know, because I can't think of a thing right now. I'm going to turn on captions so I can read this.
If not the logic of capitalism, the logic of markets applied to the body. What
No.
distinguishes humans from animals is that we produce consciously and freely. Animals build dams and nests out of necessity, out of
I mean, that's a line. That's just the 1844s. That's just the manuscripts. But I thought we were talking about, this is interesting.
instinct, whereas human can step back and conceive of something that doesn't exist.
Because early Marx, like the 1844 shit, has a very tough time dealing with the later mature critiques that he would have. Althusser actually has some really great writings on this, by the way. Like, I don't agree with him, but it's interesting stuff to read.
Exist yet, and then make it real. We project our inner life into the world through creative production. And that capacity to produce freely,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
consciously for its own sake, is what Marx calls our species being. And he uses a long German word for it that I'm not even going to try to pronounce here. For Marx, this is the key to human flourishing. But capitalism inverts this.
It doesn't. Capital as a social relation does things. Specific configurations of the legalistic version of that, of property, of money, of labor markets, and all these things, that does stuff. Saying capitalism does a thing, capitalism inverts a thing, is personifying capital. It's the opposite of Marx.
When you're working, not to express yourself, but just purely to survive, you're producing something that doesn't belong to you for ends that aren't yours.
That's just such a terrible way to say this.
You're cut off from your species being, you're alienated from your labor.
That's just, the wording here is so fucking awful. Like, this is just him saying alienation. I feel like this just maps to the 4 kinds of alienation. I feel like he's just saying those. But he's putting them together as a thing. But where is the non-alienated labor then? With this claim that you're making, where is the non-alienated? Again, asking the opposite question.
Something that should be inextricably a part of you is now something that is external to you and stands in opposition to you.
Fuck me. You are just completely out of your mind at this point.
Likewise, looksmaxing treats the body as an object to be produced and measured and submitted to external judgment. The self, your own flesh and blood, something that should be free and sensuous, something that belongs to you.
My private property. Boy, I wonder if there's a system that is formed around private property and personal property and focuses on who owns Jesus fucking Christ. He's smuggling in capitalism as the should without knowing it. That's how fucking, this is insane. This is insane. This is claiming Marx and smuggling in the foundation of capital. What the fuck? Okay, let me explain. This hurts my brain. Did you know the body of the laborer, according to Marx, is free? Did you know? It is freed, and in any meaningful way, it is freed from what came before. What came before is being determined. Now, where we were born, who we were born to, the families we were born to, the body was determined to be doing X work for a whole bunch of different code and social code reasons, overcode reasons, all that shit. Capital freed the body to enable it to become a wage laborer. Now, the freedom of the body is free. That's fair. There's more to it than just the fucking body, by the way. The idea of selling something by an hour is freeing. The body of a slave is a body that legally belonged to someone else. The body of a woman in pre-capitalist economies belonged to her husband, belonged to the patriarchal household. A body that belongs to you is the liberal juridical fiction of modern capital. He's smuggling in capitalism. You know how fucking crazy that is?
Becomes raw material to be shaped. And it's kind of funny because looks-maxers will actually describe their pursuit in the language of self-actualization. Improving yourself, reaching your potential, maxing. That's the cruel irony. It feels like an expression of species being when structurally it's the opposite of free creative production.
Name one way. You haven't even talked about how it's structural. There's nothing here. This is just saying that like, oh, as being in the world like bodily would be different. That's not a structural. You've done nothing. You've done nothing. How do you even believe you're earning this?
You're producing.
Do you even understand this? Maybe, do you not understand the words you're using? Like, how does this work?
Yourself as a commodity for a market that you didn't design and can't out-opt of. This isn't like...
I'll forgive the misspeaking. I do that shit all the time. And I like I will give credit.
As a commodity
Excellent.
For a market that you didn't design and can't out-opt...
I approve the font. It's a good font. Monument. Black or ultra black. I'm a big fan of Monument. Good font. But the thing is, this is, God. Oh God.
This isn't like a cute allegory, by the way. Looks-maxers are openly discussing how to maximize their sexual market value. But here's like this subtly pernicious part.
I would ask you to watch Living Currency. I don't know why I was going to say watch Blade Runner. God damn it, my brain. Living Currency, Klosowski goes over the idea of the industrial slave, which is really about what he's sort of getting into here. The idea of the model, the celebrity whose bodily presence is a commodity. That thing, Klosowski nails it, talks about it 60 years ago. There's a lot there. There's more there as a thing. There are platform architectures that contribute to this. There are dating apps that he is building himself into as a product and connecting to them in particular ways. These things in these chains are real.
Phenomenon is much more pervasive than capital L looks-maxing. Looks-maxing, the accumulation of sexual capital, is inseparable.
How is it okay? Looks-maxing in no capacity is the accumulation of sexual capital. I don't know what that means. It's it's just not. You're free to show me looks-maxers who like are just getting laid left and right and are relaxed about it and like just having a great time. I haven't seen that shit. I've seen a whole bunch of people who are incredibly mentally unwell and self-hating because of the nature of social media and how we exist. I mean, I would argue looks-maxing can probably be best talked about through how Foucault talks about the panopticon, the nature of the panopticon. It's a big, gigantic single tower in the middle of a big circle fucking jail, and all the jail cells are open facing that tower. So the guards just have to be in that central tower and they can just look around. The thing is, it's not that the guards actually keep an eye on everyone. That's where everyone gets this shit wrong. It's that they can see you and see every part of your cell at any time. Because what happens is when you exist in that position and whatever you do is being seen, you guard yourself. You police yourself. You exist in that way. Well, social media plays the panopticon in that sense and does so, especially for people who are really narcissistic and really not sort of doing super great, puts you in a position of guarding yourself by making sure you fit that, because you're always being seen. You're always being, maxing. It looks maxing because it's a min-max joke. That's the idea. It's a nerdy fucking capitalist mental space, but that's all it is. And it is not a thing of accumulating sexual capital at all. At all. That's a fucking stupid way to talk about it, and absolutely has no basis in any materialist reading of this. Or I would argue, hey, you ever seen him on stream with like hot chicks or hot dudes? I don't know which way he goes. I haven't. Not romantically. He's always alone and meeting guys and talking about how his dick doesn't work. Like, how is he accumulating sexual No one thinks he's like the perfect guy. Again, it's a freak show. You could make this argument in the era of early Dan Bilzerian bullshit and Andrew Tate manosphere bullshit, that there was an accumulation of sexual capital mostly by men, not by women. And not a lot of women out there who were like, those guys. That's not, there's a few, not a lot. Mostly other guys. Yeah, insomnia, exactly.
From the broader phenomenon that Hans-Georg Mueller calls prophilicity.
Okay. Really? Is Sunday still watching? I won't even have to say anything. I'm going to find out if Sunday is watching in the next 20 seconds. Messaging. Because I'll know real quick, because I know Sunday recognizes who Hans-Georg Mueller is. Prophilicity. God damn, I haven't seen that shit in a while. Let me see if the book around. Beyond originality. The birth of prophilicity from the spirit of postmodernity. Sunday's not watching. You know how sad that is? That's like a fucking clarion call. How sad for Sunday. Hans-Georg Mueller. One sec. Is one of my, I'm not a fan of him. I believe his thought generally is incorrect. And I think he's very, 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 very bad at what he does. But you will recognize him very quickly. It's our friend, Carefree Wandering.
In Macau.
This is not it. I thought it was going to be a video of him. Sorry. I only have like one thing to show. This guy. In
terms of gender.
That guy. That's him. So Carefree Wandering is the guy that he's citing for prophilicity. Okay? There's a lot of problems here. 3 a.m. his time? Nope. 12:25 a.m. his time. It is just after midnight by 30 minutes. I know because he's in my time zone. So prophilicity. And he's got all of this dumb shit wrapped around this idea of like identity technology that's new, which is, we'll just say that I think there's a ontological error, generally speaking, of a lot of this shit. So this is not going to be me like doing a long critique. I'm just going to tell you, I think this is stupid, but I'm going to try to explain it. Okay. I'm going to try to explain it. The way that prophilicity works, there's sincerity, authenticity, and prophilicity. Each of these for this guy, this YouTuber, is a dominant mode of how our self is constructed and validated in our modern times, postmodern, postmodern, whatever the fuck he's talking about now. So sincerity opens up by, and we watched this video on this. So it's about conforming to the role assigned by society in pre-modern times. That was sincerity. It's that. Authenticity had to do with discovering and expressing your true self, which came through the modern. But profilicity is the specifically postmodern version of this thing. It's diffuse, it's anonymous, it's like Anon, it's 4chan, it's always watching audience that constitutes social media profiles as they exist. This thing. That's what he's doing here. The challenge is that this is not Marxist at all. Like it's just not Marxist in any capacity. I would be stunned if Carefree Wandering said, "Oh yeah, this is like Marxism 101. I'm just building off of it." I don't think he's doing that. I think the entire thing is standing outside of this framework. So what's happened is, all I can think is AI wrote this. And I'm just going to say that because I can't imagine anyone who would have this discussion and read this and go, yeah, that's just alienation. This is like Frankensteining thoughts together. They're incompatible in a lot of ways. Like, this is nonsense. Not Carefree Wandering. I mean, I don't like Carefree Wandering. I give him at least credence that he reads what he's talking about. I wouldn't say he's an idiot. I don't think he fakes his stuff. I think he's wrong about a lot of stuff, and I think he misunderstands. But again, that's like, there's room there. This shit? No, not at all. Not at all.
Mode of identity formation where you become who you are by managing how you appear to a generalized public. Dating apps, Instagram, the attention economy. Hello. All of these aspects of our social sphere have been commodified. They all run on the same logic, market logic.
Asshole. Don't say things like that unless you're going to substantiate and explain it. How does Instagram stuff like structure this way of self-presentation? Even if you're going to be citing his work, you've got to do at least a minor amount of it. You've got to work it out. How do dating apps commodify things? Commodified is not a magic word to sprinkle over things and make people go, oh, bad. I mean, that's what you're doing because you don't read these books or understand these things. But yeah, Voxy, exactly. Hey, dude, things that are produced under capitalism are produced under capitalism. Dude. It's Bill and Ted Philosophy. I should just start Bill and Ted Philosophy channel and just fucking say dumb shit all day. We'll grow so fast. I fucking hate this.
During a rough economy in which men objectively have less to offer, factors like sexual and social capital become increasingly important. In our hyper-visual,
wait.
Become who you are by managing how you appear to a generalized public. Dating.
That's also not really true, by the way. I am not a fan of profilicity. I'm not a fan of this. I'm just not. But there's more to it than that. This is weird.
Apps, Instagram, the attention economy.
Should do an AI channel with slop AI that is real content. See what happens.
Hello. All of these aspects of our social sphere have been commodified.
What does that mean? How do you work it? Blah, blah, blah.
They all run on the same logic, market logic.
They don't, though. They don't. Like, every sentence is like building on the moral language he built up earlier that has nothing to do with anything. These apps don't run on market logic. The logic of a dating app is not the logic of Instagram. It's not the logic of live stream tipping. Give me money. Subscribe, like. Patreon.com. Also, Stream Elements link if you want to do that. Be great. These things don't work the same. Market logic is not a thing. Right? Literally, Marx would be really upset about this. That you take the surface appearance for the apparent underlying movement and you run with it. You are not doing Marxism. You're doing the opposite of Marxism.
And during a rough economy in which men objectively have less to offer, factors like sex.
They don't have less to offer. What a terrible person you are. I don't like you. I now don't like you. I now actually think you're a harmful, bad thing. You're a bad thing. People will watch this and they will feel that. And you are a bad person for saying that. You're a bad man. Bad man for saying that. You have who you are to offer someone else. That's all you've ever had. That's all you will ever have. To say you have less now because success is harder. Success is harder for everyone. You can eat shit. You can just eat shit. And you are really creating the problem you're trying to critique here. You're a bad person objectively.
Sexual and social capital become increasingly
You're just, I hate this person now.
Run on the same logic, market logic. And during a rough economy in which men objectively have less to offer, factors like sexual and social capital become increasingly important.
No, they don't. Do you know what matters? Is people who are willing to be open and honest and caring with each other. Do you know what women want? I hate to tell you this. It's easy. To be treated like a human being and to know you. And if you aren't compatible, you're just not compatible. That's it. And that leads to actually a good, healthy relationship where you're able to talk to a person as if they're a partner, as if they're someone you can have a life with, that you can raise kids with, that it will be stressful and it will be difficult. But that's actually what you can offer people. That you, this person, Harper O'Connor, basically apparently has only ever, dated sex workers, which is fine. But there are other people beyond you have money or capital that they're taking advantage of. You're a piece of shit. I don't like you. I don't like this person anymore. I didn't really care for him before, but now I dislike them severely.
In our hyper-visual, globally connected economy, being attractive is incredibly advantageous, not just in dating, but in your career. And
if you don't know, there's actually a curve to this. The studies have shown there's a curve to this. You don't want to be that attractive. Looks maxing is actually a negative movement because as much as it's building up, there's actually a crash at the end. People who are striking are phenomenal to have around. They'll give you better jobs, all that good stuff. But then there's the people who are self-obsessed weirdos, and they look like him. They look like all this. They actually don't do that well. Studies have shown that's not the case. They do very badly in life. So, no, you're wrong.
Social life. It's easy to single out the looks maxers, the obsessives who take it too far.
Yes, it is, because they're mentally unwell.
But really, those who invest in their sexual capital are merely adapting to the new normal.
That's not the new normal. What the fuck are you talking about? You're a bad person. You're teaching immorality now. You're not teaching Marx. You don't read Marx. You have no idea who Althusser probably is or any of this. You're a bad person for saying all of these things.
Whether you laugh at, cringe at, or ignore this game, you're playing it.
I don't do any of those things. I mean, I'm married, but it's not a game because you're a piece of shit for thinking it's a game. It's not a game. How is a laundromat worker playing the game? How was I playing the game when I randomly met my wife or my previous wife or any of the women that I've dated and all the people who I've loved and cared about, friends, family, anyone else? How is any of that playing the game? There are times when I thought I was, but that's not how it works. If there's no game, this video doesn't work. So he has to build the game up. I'm waiting for him to go and bitches be crazy. I really think that might be coming soon.
Comedy, the horror, the appeal of Clavicular is that he says the quiet part out loud.
No, that is not the horror of it at all. He's just saying what everyone's thinking. No, he's not. That's why everyone's laughing at him and mocking him. Like, genuinely, they are. I watched a little bit of the Sneeko stream the other day. You people recommend. He was not being kind to him. These people aren't. This is like Clavicular is Chris Chan for the manosphere. I'm going to stand by that. I think that's actually what he is to these people.
He plays the game to its logical conclusion.
No.
Now, I want to return to the Channel 5 interview because I think we finally have the tools to understand it.
You didn't even ask a looksmaxing question, like at all. You don't need to be in the looksmaxing community to ask a looksmaxing question.
I think we've been talking about looksmaxing this whole time.
We've been talking about like the philosophy behind it, and it's.
You want me to ask you a scientific question about looksmaxing?
I just think it's kind of funny how like that's really never been done with the amount of like media appearances. Your companies, your press
your companies. You think I work for like Time Warner or something?
Your press companies. You work for Channel 5.
It's a YouTube channel called Channel 5.
The truth is.
He's a fucking moron, by the way. Chris Chan, you don't want to know? Just lolcow. The phrase lolcow, which exists. I think he's a lolcow. And I think most people knew this. And there was I really do. I don't know anyone who was like taking it very seriously. Genuinely. Clavicular's genuinely a moron. You can see it at this point. He's genuinely a moron. And that's wild. But this is a weird, I don't know.
Andrew did ask him about looksmaxing plenty of times.
And what's the exact equation for measuring aesthetic value? How do you think that being an online school, transformed your experience? And was that the time window that you sort of fell into the looksmaxing community? Is the purpose of the looksmaxing to raise your aesthetic value to also impress and talk to girls as well?
But these weren't the types of looksmaxing questions Clavicular was interested in. Andrew was asking philosophical, personal questions.
No, I don't even know what that sentence means. I need someone to explain to me how a question can be philosophically personal. Does anyone have an idea for that? Everything Andrew asked was the opposite of philosophy. It was personal. It was, I would argue he asked no philosophy questions. Those were not philosophy questions. If Clavicular wanted, like, none of those were deep. It's fucking weird. It's a weird thing because looksmaxing's been around and on the rise amongst young men. What do you believe is a cause behind that? That is more literally what he's like trying to get at, because again, everything else, how do I put it? Let's say you're sitting down with George Lucas and you're doing an interview about Star Wars, and all you do is ask about, hey, how many planets are there on the inner star system curve? How many times did Luke have to have his lightsaber replaced? These are facts. George Lucas would be very, very bored and upset by this, by the way. Most creators who make a thing, and Clavicular, I think you could argue, is the spearhead guy making it. They want to actually be asked about the thing, the process, the setup. I actually think this is unfair to Clavicular. What the fuck am I doing? How might I turn around on this? Those are the opposite of philosophical questions.
Time window that you sort of fell into the looksmaxing.
What was the time window that you fell in? What year did it happen to you? That's not a philosophical question at all.
Community. Is the purpose of the looksmaxing to raise your aesthetic value to also...
Like, these are yes or no questions. What the fuck, man? Numbers or yes and no? What the fuck, man?
plenty of times.
And what's the exact equation for measuring aesthetic value? How do you
This is facts. He's asking facts. This is you know what? I'm going to defend Clavicular here. This is terrible. This is terrible. This is terrible. I'm defending Clavicular. I hate you people for doing this to me. The guy clearly wanted to have a larger discussion. He's probably high as shit on meth and a bunch of drugs. And if you don't do drugs, maybe you don't know. Those kinds of questions are really frustrating when you're on drugs, especially if you think you're being brilliant. Super, super important. So asking him like, hey, how old are you? Oh, cool. How do you spell your middle name? These are not philosophical questions in any capacity at all. And it frustrated him. I mean, I watched the Andrew interview.
do you think that being an online school, transformed your experience? And was that the time window that you sort of fell into the looks-maxing community? Is the purpose of looks-maxing to raise your aesthetic value to also impress?
Not a single one of those is philosophical.
Press and talk to girls as well?
But these weren't the types of looks-maxing questions Clavicular was interested in. Andrew was asking philosophical, personal questions. He wanted to get to know the Braden Peters behind Clavicular.
That's not what a philosophical question is, you hack. You fucking dumb weirdo.
Discover the why that animates him.
He wanted to discover the why by asking yes or no and number-based questions instead of, hey, why is this larger? Actually, he didn't ask a why question. Why is kind of the fundamental philosophical joke word. Like, why? That's the philosophy. He didn't ask a why question. And you're going to say he asked a bunch of philosophy questions. That's fucking par for the course for this fucking stupid video. What a fucking hack.
But that's just it. For Clavicular, this kind of introspection isn't important at all. He wanted to, for Clavicular, this kind of introspection isn't important at all. He wanted to talk shop.
He literally... What? No.
I said earlier that this moment is the key to understanding Clavicular's worldview. That's a lie, because Clavicular doesn't have a worldview. He isn't...
So you lied. That's great. That's fantastic. Good work.
Motivated by an ideological commitment to hierarchy. He didn't reason his way to looks-maxing through first principles. This isn't part of a wider political project for him. In this moment, I kind of feel bad for Clavicular, being needled by Andrew and other media figures about the philosophy behind...
Wait. Okay. Okay. So now you're saying he didn't have an ideology. He didn't have an ideology. He doesn't have a worldview. Doesn't have an ideology. I'll agree with this, which would mean that Marx is irrelevant here, because ideology is kind of important to Marx.
Behind his pursuit must be kind of exhausting, because there is no why. Because looks-maxing isn't for anything. It's an end in itself.
I want to understand what you think profit is for. I want to understand what this guy thinks profit is for according to Marx. That would be actually a question I would love to generally ask. I think lovely purple. Purple's good. It's a nice, see if we can get a nice good look on the shade. It's a nice purple. I'm a fan of purple today. Violet. My daughter picked it out because it's violet. So, violet. In capital, the reason, by the way, that MCM as a thing, right? The reason the structure of all that happens is because profit doesn't exist for something. Profit exists for its circuit. It valorizes itself. You could say looks maxing is congruent with this because it's not the logic of capital applied to the body. That's fucking really stupid. Really stupid. It's more because the body has been brought inside of the circulatory architecture that is capital. I would argue that. That's a more interesting discussion. Gets into a little bit of a Gambin, a few other things. But nothing this guy has ever read.
In the same way, profit accumulation is the point of capitalism. Asking...
No. Just so you know, no. Profit accumulation is not the point of capitalism. You're mistaking how people behave in capitalism from the point of capitalism. The point of capitalism is circulation of capital. I mean, this is fucking embarrassing.
Clavicular why looks maxing is like having a stockbroker on CNBC.
Sorry, did he ask him why looks maxing? You didn't have that in the thing. Should I go back and rewatch it? Because why looks maxing would be actually an interesting question to ask, but he didn't.
And then spending the whole time asking them about the ethics of commodity production. It's just like not the same thing.
What? No. Not only was none of that asked, because you don't have a critical mind, sadly, doesn't have a critical mind. It's a shame. But it was none of that was asked. This is also not capitalism. So he's like congratulating himself on finding a thing Andrew he thinks didn't do. I don't know what the fuck.
People talk about Clavicular like he's a ruthless social Darwinist, but if you watch his behavior and frankly his demeanor, you'll...
Who do you talk to? You have weird friends.
Quickly find that that's not true. He's more like a dispassionate investor managing an asset portfolio.
Now you're going into fantasy territory. I would argue he's a mentally ill drug addict whose self-hatred is basically visible literally in his skin. George Carlin. I've been using George Carlin a lot lately. Great video. He said, great moment. It's a great quote. The best part about excessive plastic surgery is it lets everyone know and see on the outside how ugly you are on the inside. Ah, so great.
Portfolio. Except in this case, the asset happens to be his face.
Okay, let's say that's what it is, because your video has not substantiated any of those things or aligned it at all with Marx in any capacity. Why is the framework then alienation from species being by Marx instead of a better one, which would be the subjectivation underneath platform capital, which again, stupid concept, but at least it's a thing. Oh yeah, wait, because you needed a moral framework because you don't have the ability to do real philosophy. Disgusting.
I have an embarrassing confession to make. I used to be on the Looks Maxing forums all the way back in early 2021. Around the time that Clavicular was getting his start, actually.
No wonder you have absolutely no ability to do anything else.
And it made me mentally ill. I was a sophomore in college.
Didn't make you mentally ill.
Lockdown was still in full effect, and I was more socially isolated than I've ever been before.
So he is going to explain to us how looks maxing was important to him, despite him saying, I was socially isolated, and I did this, and I increased my increased sexual capital in his brain, just like Clavicular. These people aren't successful sexually or romantically at all. But he doesn't want to admit, hey, by the way, the looks maxing thing, only actually for really kind of sad, mentally ill people who are stuck inside alone and don't have the ability to actually talk to anyone or form meaningful relationships. And as such, we restructure our external self in order to be the visible thing that is supposed to be the sexual capital situation, but never actually is. It's pure facade. That's what looks maxing is. It's pure facade. In fact, they're probably all very much fucking each other. I assume they all do crazy, gay orgies. Good for them. You should relax and do it a little bit more.
Sense. In my vulnerable state, I really convinced myself that my problem was that I wasn't
He has a Hustler Academy type. What the fuck are you talking about? Vanguard Studios, build your political YouTube with people who get you. $60 a month. God damn. Fuck.
attractive enough. I told myself that if I could become mathematically perfect, or at least optimized, then I would be safe. I would
get out of your head, go out, enjoy the world.
Deserve love. In the end, I never flew to Turkey for experimental limb lengthening surgery, or develop my own peptide stack, or smash my cheekbones with a hammer, or any of that crap. In fact, the only part of it that I really took seriously was the gym, which ended up being good for me in the long run. But for me, the most debilitating aspect of looks maxing wasn't the method being advocated or any of the stuff that I actually did to myself. It was the mentality that it kind of inspired in me, that it inculcated in me. Because this mentality really functioned to justify my isolation. It protected me from the messy realities of social life.
Yes, you lied to yourself about everything. How was your sexual capital? Was it excellent? Because that's what you said.
And it gave me a rationale for indefinitely postponing human connection. Somehow the prospect of reshaping my entire body with chemicals and weightlifting seemed easier and less scary than putting myself out there romantically and socially.
Okay, here's the thing. All of you people, if you don't have kids, you watch this in your own horror. Once you have a kid, my son's 8, Violet's 4. I don't have the ability to look at this dispassionately. These are the people who in just a year or two are going to be served via algorithm and feed to my son. There's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is prepare him for this and this horror. That's terrifying. Stupid, narcissistic jackasses who have no self-introspection at all, making commentary and then telling people to give them money for it, are very successful. It's terrifying. It's just only going to get worse.
Because it gave me certainty, and it protected me from the prospect of rejection. I could tell myself that I wasn't...
What, do you not think Clavicular is doing the same thing, you fucking idiot? How do you not have even that jump? Hey, I did these things. Boy, I probably won't put Clavicular in that category. Please say he does. It would be redemptive for him to turn around and go, and I'm going to give Clavicular that room. As a human being who's going through identically the same things probably, because outwardly it's identical, why would I not assume the rest of it? I'm assuming all these other things. I called him a sociopath a moment ago. But will you be kind, or are you just the thing?
Ready to engage with the world because I wasn't perfect. And that's just it. You know, you'll never be complete. With the benefit of hindsight, I can see that. But back then, I couldn't. And because of that, I didn't date anyone in college.
Your sexual capital wasn't very high
I worry
then.
that we're all becoming clavicular, that we've internalized
Dude. Okay. Here's a thing for everyone. It's really important. Your experience is unique, very much. When you look around and you find someone who is doing almost identical things, like clavicular, to what you're doing, you can talk about, for me, it was these things. It might be for him. To universalize your experience is so fucking narcissistic. It's horrifying. Like, this is wild. This is more narcissistic by a wide margin.
Market logic to such an extent that we've become blind to it.
You're fucking everything. What the fuck, dude?
I worry that Clavicular actually isn't wrong, that maybe he's just ahead of the curve.
Jesus Christ. Okay. If I was being generous, I'd be like, hey, you could say, and I would, let me steel man the fuck out of this one. I can steel man the fuck out of this. Clavicular is absolutely, completely rational within his material conditions and situation. Do you get it? Clavicular isn't wrong. Clavicular isn't wrong. In his material conditions and world, he is correct. That's actually how it works. He doesn't understand what I'm talking about here. That would be Marxist. But hey, what can I say?
I worry that his behavior is a rational response to the increasingly atomized, globalized, digitized, marketized reality.
See, when I say it, what I'm saying is that his contingent existence has a rationality around it that I think absolutely is its own logic, its own system that he exists within. Him too, by the way, this fucking douchebag. Myself, all of you watching, that's how it works. But he is, because he doesn't have the ability to think critically, he's universalizing clavicular to say it's the rational choice, as in objectively rational, not subjectively rational. Subjectively, it's absolutely rational. It is not objectively rational at all. But that's actually the commentary he's making. Is anyone wrong for their material conditions, though? No. Do you not understand that? Do you know the easiest way to fight poverty? So give people money. You know the easiest way to fight crime? Give people stability and money. That's it. Because the question should eternally be maybe the only one. I believe it's Bertolt Brecht. The question is not why a man steals bread to feed his family. We know why he does this. The question is why all of us don't do that constantly.
Of 21st century capitalism. In this world, human connection is replaced by numerical signifiers. In this world, we are nodes in a market network. In this world, ruthless self-optimization
This is not someone who understands markets or capital.
Is rational.
This is an aesthetic moralizing bullshit thing. Over and over and over. Nodes in a market network. What are nodes? What are networks? How does this work? This is bullshit.
So let's not create that world. Let's build a better one.
Gladiator. Every time, by the way, Gladiator is Gladiator. Gladiator. Man, he's got a video on stoicism. Am I going to do a fucking video on this guy now for this fucking week? Nope, no. No Stoics. Good, thank God. God damn it.
So what is the rational response to clavicular, to looksmaxing, to the marketization of society. And I think it's pretty simple. Be a good freaking person. Be body positive. All this looks maxing stuff is weird. Just be chill, bro.
That's not what body positive discourse is. You're a piece of shit human being in every single way. Nothing about you is actually redeemable at this point. You've lied about your philosophical backing. You've lied about theory. You've not utilized anything leftist. You're coming from a fascist standpoint. You don't have even the slightest ability to talk about your own shortcomings, which could have been a beautiful moment in this to talk about how you learned X, Y, and Z. But instead, actually, you came around to talk about how you were right all along. You were always right, and you're always going to be right. The fundamental thing you can't do is actually deal with people fundamentally in a way that's meaningful. That is what's stopping you from doing anything interesting. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, you like my bread tube impression? I'll be here all week. So yeah, before
it's just not even an impression. That's a 4chan version of the body positivity movement. Well done.
lay out the solution, we need to talk about why the standard normie left-wing response to looks maxing is totally ineffective. That's right, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, criticizing the left from the left. I've noticed that a lot of people like to pretend that looks maxing is some kind of weird, unprecedented trend that only terminally online autistic men participate in.
If you're talking about looks maxing as a very particular thing in the way that he's doing it, it is actually a very, very recent trend having to do with social media and the way that it works, and also COVID, fundamentally. But the idea that the preening of the 80s is even close to looks maxing is just saying and flattening a thing that you were a victim of to a universal thing because you want to be universal because it hurts you.
But really what's odd and antisocial about these guys is that they openly discuss how far they're willing to go.
How is open discussion odd and antisocial? I'm just gonna start here. So the odd thing about them is that they openly in a culture where people share bathwater on Twitch and sell it, and OnlyFans, where all the like celebrity girls I was super attracted to in the 90s growing up that helped put me through puberty, they're all on OnlyFans now sharing everything. That openness is part and parcel of the capitalist thing you've been talking about. How is it possibly odd or antisocial? How?
Whereas most people subconsciously internalize this logic, participate in it, but then kind of pretend that they're...
You can't have it both ways, dude. Like, I mean, you can. You don't think about these things. It's either that looks maxing is the logic of contemporary life and building it, in which case openly discussing it is honesty, not oddness or antisocial deviance. Or it is a marginalized, weird subculture itself, in which case the systemic claims don't scale and your experience wasn't universal. Do you understand how fucking stupid this is? You should delete this video. This is embarrassing. This is bad. This is like, it shows you don't know how to critically like consider things or logically work things out. I have a series on this channel I would really recommend. It's How to Philosophy. I open with symbolic logic because it's important as you do it, and I don't spend the time to actually write it out, and I wasn't very good at it in the first place. But what it does is it teaches you how to think through these things against each other, because all of these propositions that you're putting forward in front of me are themselves claims that are contradictory at best or outright nonsense at worst, and you should be able to catch them if you had done any of this work. This is not good.
above it. If you go to any major city, you'll find legions of yuppies with expensive gym memberships and health smoothies and elaborate skincare routines and height boosting insulin.
This is not looks maxing. This is not looks maxing.
Do you think I wear this watch because I need to know what time it is? We all kind of do it. You're just not supposed to talk about it.
Okay. My dude, first off, women talk about this shit all the time. This is like out and out all the time. Gay men absolutely talk about this shit all the time. Oh my God, I love those pants. Yeah, I put them on because I really wanted to show off my ass or this or that. I wear the watch. Like, this is literally like, I do this. I am 45 and dump trucky, fucky, ugly. And this is a thing I do. I'm like, oh, yeah, this shirt's more flattering to me, or this is more flattering. I cut my, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You are genuinely repressed, and it's really just getting worse. And that you're universalizing it for an army of men watching you is just upsetting as shit.
Which means that movements focus solely on challenging beauty standards or promoting body acceptance, while they are important, can't fully address the material conditions that make the logic of looks maxing so hard to resist.
I agree, by the way, here. I agree with that statement. And I look forward to what is absolutely got to be a following thing that is going to fix it. Because if you're going to shit on a thing for not able to do it, you probably have a great idea of how to fight it, right? Right?
Sexual capital is an economic force. It's not just a transient cultural phenomenon.
Sexual capital, again, is an economic force.
People are rational actors in an irrational system, and no amount of plus-size models is going to change this underlying reality.
Fuck me. That's the opposite of Marx again. Rational choice in your vocabulary means you're not actually tarrying with Marx.
You can't tell someone to just be themselves when they can clearly see that certain attributes are rewarded by the market society. In short, we need to do more than just critique beauty standards and promote self-acceptance. However,
I agree with this.
This doesn't mean that we need to accept the system as inevitable either. So what would a robust solution look like? I've argued in this video that looks maxing isn't about individual personal vanity. Rather, it's a rational response to structural conditions.
You did not argue for this at all in this video. At all. But you know what? I will give it to you because that's an accurate statement. Well, if I were to be pedantic, I would say it is not that looks maxing is a rational response. That presumes that there is an outside viewer responding to the marketplace. It's a rational response within the conditions of capital to do these things and react in these ways. He did say it's structural in free species being body. Again, he's just not. These things aren't connecting, but let's jump forward. Let's presume, because the statement's mostly fine. Let's go with it. God, I hope there's something productive here.
Which means if we care about living in a society where people don't feel compelled to transform themselves into cyborgs, we must take on these structural forces that generate this pathology in the first place.
Correct.
That requires community. Community, 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 community. And I know what you're thinking. This is not some kumbaya. Let's all get a...
I hate everybody. Just burn down YouTube.
Long hippie plan. All right. There's a very specific reason that I say community.
This is why Section 230 needs to be fully repealed, because it would destroy YouTube and I would be happier as a person. I think the world would too. I think the world would be better off without any of these platforms.
Community is the antidote to looks maxing, and it's because when you're in a community, you're interfacing with real people, which...
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit on my immediate thoughts. I just did a video on this, on the common, and I structured it very specifically as I went through what is it's not an easy direction to go, but the goal was to sort of run through multiple frameworks and ultimately come back around to the place where it's like, hey, you need to understand that the common, as I call it, or community or closeness or the local, this is great, sure, but it's also where surveillance, conformity, exclusion, hatred, policing of bodies happens the most intensely and always has. Your neighborhood, your small town, your church group, the union hall with closed racial culture or whatever it is, Israeli kibbutz. These are communities. They're communities. These are localities. These are the common. The claim here is fundamentally breaking, because if you don't interrogate what that means, that's the end of the situation. You forget, oh wait, that shit's bad too. Like really bad.
fundamentally changes the logic of the game. Think about it. If you're living in a post-human digital wasteland, scrolling, swiping, liking, gooning, nothing really matters but your appearance and the numbers in your bank account and your clout metrics. You are a complete bugman whose entire life is defined by the market algorithm.
Your existence, because of the terminology used, and now you've talked about this and your own admission, shows that you are not outside of this objectively looking in. You are giving us the subjective existence of someone who lives within this space, and it was justifying it as the way everyone needs to be, and everyone is justified in doing this, so you yourself don't feel problematic. You're problematic, realize it.
This is the rational kernel of looks maxing, because yeah, this is the world that we're building. This is the world that we are headed towards increasingly. But it doesn't have to be that way. When you're embedded in a community, factors other than your looks become salient, because communities are positive sum hierarchies. In a community, you gain status by enriching the lives of others, and by developing competence, and by providing resources, and by just being a good hang.
Again, doesn't really work like this.
Community, you can build the trust required for reciprocal altruism. And suddenly, you do actually have the breathing room to be yourself. Your physical appearance becomes one part of your identity rather than the sole metric that determines your entire life. To me, that's much better than a zero-sum mog off.
Are you mugging me right now?
So, community is the antidote to looks maxing. Great, except this doesn't really solve the problem, does it? Oh, you're experiencing problems because you're socially isolated and your entire life is governed by markets? Well, the solution to that is to not be socially isolated. Free wisdom for you there, buddy. Just rebuild community. While it is correct, doesn't tell you how to overcome
It is not correct, by the way.
the forces that led to the erosion of community in the
You're aware that it's not correct. That's why you have 2 minutes left in the video to say this.
first place. These social pathologies are being generated by structural problems. Liberals cannot get this through their frickin' heads. So let's return to the refrain of the video, the distinction between the market economy and the market society.
Oh no. Oh no. I mean, this is the opposite of Marx. This is going to be a problem.
This idea comes from political philosopher Michael Sandel. In 2013, Sandel wrote, "How can we decide as a society when markets serve the public good and where they don't belong? I think the only way we can determine that is by having a public debate about how to value the goods and social practices that we care about."
So you pick a philosophy professor at Harvard who's a hardcore liberal Aristotle dude to claim that you're doing anything close to leftism. I mean, I'm not sure how fucking stupid you could be. Do you not realize that, like, this guy is not who you're saying and can't be related to the things you're talking about? Like, to start with Marx and switch to Sandel is fucking insane. Marx denies anything Sandel would say fundamentally. He said Bugman? He did not say Bugman. Did he say Bugman? I'm not going back. He's a piece of shit. But again, it doesn't matter because he clearly doesn't care about the things he's saying. He's just going with vibes and running with it. Right? He did. Fucking goddamn it. I didn't pick it up. I'm trying to make sense of his arguments and trying to strongman him, and he fucking uses fucking 4chan genocide terms. That's great. I commented on Bugman. I don't know. I didn't comment on Bugman. Is it a slur? Yes. I'll just say yes.
We need to debate case by case.
There's a book Sandel wrote. Let me find it. One sec. Like this dude's been around. He's a fucking ass. Yeah. You want to know what liberalism is? Tell me if you think Marx would like this title. What money can't buy, the moral limits of markets. Should we pay children to read books or get good grades? Should we put a price on human life to decide how much pollution to allow? Is it ethical to pay people to test risky new drugs or donate their organs? This is who he's building off of. Marx. He's claiming Marx is like this. In recent decades, market values have crowded out non-market norms in almost every aspect of life. Without quite realizing it, Sandel argues, we've been drifted from having a market economy to being a market society. Like, this is what passes for like modern fucking philosophy shit. The professor of government, I guess. He's a piece of shit, man. These people are terrible. Justice. What's the right thing to do? The case against perfection. Democracy's discontent. Liberalism and the limits of justice. Public philosophy. Essays on morality and politics. Yeah, that's a Marxist for you. Stupid fucking... I hate everyone. I hate this so much.
Doesn't that make you feel all warm and fuzzy?
No, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. It's a symptom of late capitalism to say that and to have that statement said.
Fuzzy? I mean, Sandel isn't wrong, but there's one problem.
He's very wrong. It's the opposite of Marx. It's the opposite of Marx. It's the opposite of Marx. He's completely fucking wrong.
Rationally decide that markets don't serve us in a particular instance. Building a society where markets are tools, where markets don't define every aspect of our lives, requires building power. It requires...
Animal Farm was about this guy. I think Animal Farm was about this guy. I think this is Napoleon.
It requires actually doing politics. It requires building a countervailing force that can challenge capital. You know, I think back to...
That's the most lib fucking thing you can fucking say. None of this is Marxist. None of this is Marx. None of this is there. But he just basically like opened the framework up to anything ever. Like it's just, he can put anything here. It doesn't even matter.
To like workers unions used to have like daycares and adult education societies and sports leagues and all sorts of stuff that would embed you in this cultural life. We can...
Hey, maybe the things we used to have were built and determined by the material conditions of the time, the way that there was a mass industrialization globally, and the shift in America to more skilled and high-end labor in the 50s and 60s, geographic concentration of workers and the movement of those workers to the periphery, the way that state recognition and collective bargaining began to function. None of those exists now. So, useless fucking asshole.
Kind of kill two birds with one stone. Political organizing is a great place to prove your worth among other people. It's a great place to build.
Now we know what he cares about. I'm doing this to prove my worth to other people. I'm doing this video to prove my worth to other people. I sat in my house and I wanted to be a Looksmaxer to prove my worth to other people. I'm worthwhile. Brother, you are a person. You existing as a person, you are worthwhile. Everything else you do is irrelevant to that conversation, and to say that you need those things to be worthwhile is where your problem begins, brother. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. Don't even start down that road. You put one fucking brick up, the rest build themselves.
Community and actually like be useful to people. But the ultimate goal is to live in a healthier society where social life is not defined by markets, because
Kintsugi moment. We're watching a failed clavicular diagnose clavicular by universalizing clavicular in order to make himself justified. That distance, that creation, that I was made by the material conditions of my world, we're watching him perform without even knowing it. He doesn't know that he's performing this. And if you can spot it, if you can see it, this is like my Joe Rogan video from last Friday. If you can spot it, you can learn from it so you don't do it yourself, and you can identify the distance. With any luck, you could begin to reach people who you can say, hey, you're going down that road. That's not a road. It's not a road. Don't do that. Don't do that.
like political life and economic life is not defined by markets either. In a healthy society, like political life and economic life is not defined by markets either.
I am so fucking...
Prove your worth among other people. It's a great place to build community and actually like be useful to people. But the ultimate goal is to live in a healthier society where social life is not defined by markets, because like political life and economic life is not defined by markets either. And
is he saying that he wants to live in a world where markets don't determine anything? I hate to break it to you. That's not very fun. You're free to go look back at serfdom. You're free to go look back at natural tribal existence. Not a good time. It's not a good time. If you want to figure out the next thing, we have to kind of go through it. That, again, Marx, and I think Marx was right, we have to go through it. We have to understand this. We have to build on it. We have to do better. Capitalism is better than everything except for the rest, is the old joke. It's a democracy is the best form of government except for all the rest. Which is a great line. It's very overly clever, but there is the hope to get outside of it. Watching someone who has a genuinely kind of blessed existence. I have one of those, by the way. I do. Talk about how they just wish they could go back to times where their existence would be structurally determined from birth. It hurts. Like, the challenge is right now that we can't regress. Capitalism's here. You can go create a commune. To do that, you need to take part in some capacity of capital. You can't get away from it. If we undo capitalism, I don't even know what that means. It's not really a functional thing. There's a lot of questions. The what that even means is fundamentally a big giant body of work itself. You can't. This is utopian.
A healthy society, looks would just organically matter less. Because
Why?
for one, people would have organic social bonds and other sources of value, which sort
You don't think? Okay.
of make looks just one part of their identity. But
I hate to break it to you. You should read some anthropology, my friend. Looks don't matter. Fuck me.
But for another, people would just naturally be healthier and more attractive because they'd be living more human lives. If you're playing sports, living an active and creative lifestyle, you're in a walkable city with plenty of nature and green space. Your food systems aren't poison. You have
money and you're rich in capital.
Enough time to cook for yourself and sleep well. You have adequate health care. You have free time to actually develop yourself.
Go move to Norway.
You would just naturally be a healthier person in this society.
And I hate to break it to you. Go to Norway. There is a very, go to Norway and be a black person and go date and tell me that looks don't matter in places where people are like that.
Attractiveness.
Go be a Arabian guy, Persian dude. Go date there. Tell me how that goes. Tell me how it works to date as a Persian guy in Sweden.
Is not the result of autistic self-optimization, but rather just a natural outgrowth of living the way humans were meant to live.
Nope. Nope, 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 nope.
You can call that looks maxing if you want, but for me, it's qualitatively different.
You're a fucking nutcase, and none of this made any sense at the end. I hate this video, and I hate people.
It's the world I'm trying to build.
This made me
and hopefully you are too.
I'm not. I really hate that world. I hate that world and everything you described in it. I really do. And I hate the idea of how humans were meant to live. Is a gross fucking thing. Again, if you believe you have an idea of that, you're a narcissist. Just so you know, you're a fucking narcissist if you think you have a grasp of how humans were meant to live. At your fucking age, I don't even... No, that's such a fucking arrogant thing to say. So I hated this and kind of hate all of you. So thank you for this terrible, terrible thing. These are going to be edited and tossed up. I've got, I'm going to read in at the end of this. You're going to go in. I'm going to ask you to go in. I've got premiere tomorrow, and I know most of you are going to be sleeping. Some of you are going to be nice and awake. That'll be great. Tim Ferriss, if you don't know, that's the Stoic video for tomorrow is on Tim Ferriss, who is... I have a clip I used a bunch of times in the video just because I love it. Because when people are... It's like high school, like people who didn't do book reports, they'd be like, oh, Stoics, which is from the word stoa, which is an interesting thing because stoa means porch, not related to anything else. That kind of like padding out. Tim Ferriss, who has written books on stoicism, he's the guy who wrote 4 Hour Workweek. He's a fucking psychotic hack. He's awful. He says that. I just took that word from word for him, and I use it a bunch in the video just because it's fucking hilarious to me. That it's like, it means porch. It doesn't, but he doesn't know that, and he just put a fact in because it sounds great. His book on 4 Hour Workweek is insane. He is insane. He is awful, and he doesn't understand anything he's talking about, but man, is he a good fucking example of shitty stoicism. After that, that's going to be the last like negative takedown video. I have 2 more coming. One is more of a conceptual one going over some concepts. And then another one is on what I consider to be the greatest piece of Stoic art of our time. Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal. And I don't mean that sarcastically. It's literally perfectly stoic. I've got 2 more pieces, and then Friday, with any luck, if I can finish getting it edited and everything, Friday it'll be going out, or I'll toss another 10-minute video in and I'll get it out next week. Yeah, Nathan from Nathan For You, correct. It's great. Tim Ferriss has a video tomorrow. So I'm going to send you guys off to that. I thank all of you for joining, as always. Subscribe, as always, like, send a couple bucks, join the memberships. I don't do anything for them because I don't believe in paid content, and I don't like that as a thing, but you do get some cool emojis. Like you get a goatsy sun buttholes. Patreon's the best thing you can do. Patreon.com/DGQC. Cup of coffee a month if you can afford it. If you can't, that's fine. Again, I don't paywall anything. Or the Discord, discord.gg/DGQC. And with that, I will see you all soon enough. Please go to the video, like it if you can, notify yourself, even if you're not going to be there. It helps boost it to get it going in the morning. Thank you. See you then.